The Tism Report is back, folks, and with a temporary but new background. With that said, let's get right into the meat of today's topic. Well, not really today's topic, because there's several topics to disclose, because there's several topics I'm going to talk about, but this video's topic. If you've been paying attention to my Twitter, I've been somewhat pissed off lately. And I'm not saying that because, oh, you don't want to see me when I'm angry, but more so because shit like this never really gets to me. I'm normally able to keep my cool. And yet there's been two things so far that have actually managed to piss me off a little bit. Most recently being what Lio is doing behind the scenes. But before I get into that, I want to establish why people are mainly upset about the FCK and the whole situation to begin with. The first main reason is that there were minors as young as 12 and 13 in the server exposed to the porn. As it turns out, Slammers was not the youngest, who was 15 at the time. She was just the one minor that pretty much everybody, and including almost every fucking adult in there, knew was 15. There were minors younger than her, again as young as 12 and 13. We found this out thanks to Doodletones and Thuman. And although Doodletones helped disclose that information, that isn't to say that they're a unbiased party and that they aren't involved, because they very much are, but I'll get into that in a moment. But the main reason people are upset, the first one, is that there were kids in this Discord server being exposed to porn, and several of the adults participated in spamming the chat with porn and showing them pornography. And the ones that didn't participate in it knew about it and didn't say anything, didn't stop it, didn't remove the minors, didn't try and ask the minors to leave the server. They did nothing. So even if they didn't participate in spamming the fucking porn like a bunch of degenerates, they still knew about it and didn't have a problem with it. And this goes into the second issue as to why people are upset. These same people that were in the FCK for years now, since 2020, could moral grandstand dozens and dozens of different people throughout the community, could get up on their moral pedestal and point the finger and condemn people for either shit that they actually did do, or just outright false accusations. They LARPed as these moral authorities and said that certain people needed to be talked about, certain people needed to be called out, and certain people needed to be held accountable. And they've been doing it over the years when the FCK shit has sat in that server, not disclosed to anybody, because they wanted to keep it hidden, they wanted to keep it a secret. That's why anytime I talked about the FCK and what they were getting up to, they made sure to silence me with false accusations or bringing up the false accusations, saying that I wasn't a credible fucking source because I've said mean things to them. The sanctimonious hypocrisy is the second reason as to why people are upset, because the hypocrisy is fucking rampant. As recent as of the end of 2023, Nezzy Monster participated in a little slideshow commentary get-together that involved Lio, and it's on Doodletones' channel. It's about 6 to 7 hours long, and in it is grandstanding people talking about how they need to be held accountable.
But I personally feel like, I'm not saying it needs to be right now, but I feel like you, at some point, once Key and Tippy are like emotionally better, you need to like hold them accountable. You need to just go up to them and be like, hey, you guys need to be actively working to improve yourselves, you know?
No, they need to be actively accountable right now. Something that I've noticed in this community is that Tippy and Key tend to be held with kids' gloves. You don't need to go down on them hard, but you need to hold them accountable.
These individuals LARP as moral figures for the art commentary audience to idolize. That is the second reason as to why people are upset. The third reason kind of ties back into the first reason, but it's again that these people said nothing. They had no problem condemning people for doing shit exactly like this, and if anyone else had done this, we all know that they'd be a big fucking bandwagon. Hell, people who have done shit less than this, not nearly as bad as the FCK server, have been lambasted and condemned by this same fucking community, by many of the people in the FCK. Shit less than that has had them do massive bandwagons, or have had them trying to run people off and out of the community, convincing themselves they're holding them accountable. Me being a meanie pants and getting a couple of things wrong resulted in them accusing me of doxing and a bunch of other shit. But the second there's a conversation about what they were getting up to in the server, oh no, we gotta stop this bus. You have the same people who would condemn everybody else and has condemned everybody else who's done shit like this, trying to make excuses, trying to make defenses, going as far as lying, like Lio Convoy, which has led some people to be upset that the Lio Convoy and Peaches shit has somewhat overshadowed the FCK situation. But again, that's due to Lio weaseling his way into getting involved and then lying for Peaches. And as of recently, he hasn't stopped trying to weasel his way in. You all might be wondering, well, since Lio's been so quiet aside from getting ratioed by me and then deleting the tweet, what has he been up to? Why so quiet? And I can tell you exactly what he's getting up to because several sources have given me information. Aside from Lio working on addressing the accusations from Peaches and other people, most likely going to paint himself victim to Peaches' manipulation, he's working with Nezimonster and Doodletones, 2 FCK members, to talk about the FCK. When was the last time that the FCK members banded together to produce a biased hit piece video trying to change the perspective on a situation to defend themselves, to make themselves look better? And how did that turn out? They've been setting this up. This is why he first tried to say that I was going to misrepresent the FCK server.
He's going to try to use cherry-picked examples to try to frame it as Peaches being okay with degeneracy being shown to kids.
Then said that it's not quite as it's being presented.
We'll go more in depth when I cover the FCK as a whole. Suffice it to say, it's not inherently what it appears to be from the standpoint currently given.
And then you had Doodles who said that I was mostly right, but couldn't explain what I was wrong about.
So, Okumu's petty grudge with the FCK server aside, if one of the allegations against the server was that it was a danger to minors, I absolutely agree. With that said, I do have to wonder how much Okumu actually cares about the victimization of minors there, when he holds no problem wanting to make fun of me as a victim of grooming by his own words. As much as he'll have a problem with me doing so, I do have to raise an eyebrow at that. Because no matter how correct he is about the server, and again, let me be clear, for the most part, at least when it comes to the behaviors in there, he is correct.
They've been setting up this whole thing so that they can provide a different perspective that conveniently gives them leeway or an excuse. Let me give you an example. Go back to the Nezimonster Senate call and that whole situation to the sexual harassment accusations that she made. She refuses to admit to any fucking dishonesty on her part, even though it's blatantly there. Instead, she presents it as a honest mistake. That way, her audience is like, oh, well, Nezi just made a mistake. Come on, give her a break. She just made a mistake. That's all it is just a mistake. You're just holding a mistake over her head. As if she hasn't been lying about the whole situation for literally 4 fucking years now. Think of that. But for the FCK situation, they're trying to manufacture or produce an angle that they can tackle it or address it that gives them leeway, that gives them some kind of defense so that they can manipulate the audience's perspective more into their favor. And I know exactly how they're going to do that. The problem is I can't disclose those details to you. Hopefully soon enough I can, because the sheer fucking gall, the testicular fortitude to do what they're doing behind the scenes, and yet want to accuse me of not caring about the fucking victims is rich. But just prepare yourselves, because you're going to get an extremely biased, skewered perspective of the FCK events to make defenses for themselves, because they're upset that people are upset with them for the shit that everyone can see that they did. They have to try and twist it into their favor. Again, this is the art commentary community. I've shown you all this with my FCK series dozens of times, so I'm not necessarily surprised, but the way they're going about it and what they're specifically doing to try and do this has actually pissed me off, and I don't really get pissed off by this shit. So that's to give you an idea as to just how fucking bad it is, and just how desperate they are.